Welcome to The Experience, live with Russ and Scott. Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Learn more about the Experience community at our website, local.theexperience.video, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Experience is brought to you each week by these great sponsors. The Jim Kuhlman Insurance Agency. Insurance for auto, home, renters, personal and business, life, health, and even your pets. Call Jim and his team at 541-753-2500. JimKuhlman.com. 85% of jobs and internships come from a strong network. The book, Networking for Students, is available from Amazon. Students with soft skills are more successful. Networking is a skill that will be used lifelong. Good networking skills instill confidence. Find the book at networkingforstudents.com. Guild Mortgage. Contact Buddy Puckett to find the loan that fits your life. Hundreds of loan products tailored to your needs. Guildmortgage.com and call Buddy at 503-851-8031. And now let's get on with the show.
Hey, let's get on with the show. Here we go. You know what? It's going to be a great show today. I can just feel it because there's so many little things happening that life is good. Makes me smile. Scott, how are you doing?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun with the backstage on Instagram earlier today with Shri. Always great tips, video tips from Shri, and just morning inspiration, and just seeing what it takes to get a show like this going. And here we are, Russ.
Yes, it's always so much fun.
There we go.
So I feel as we get going on the backstage, we just have such a good time. And if you haven't joined us on Instagram, only 6:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time or 8:30 a.m. Texas Standard Time on Instagram only for the Experience Backstage, you should. Lots of good video tips. Shri has lots of wisdom, and so does Scott. And we just have a lot of fun all at the same time before this show, which, of course, is 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time every Wednesday. And that is 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time. So we hope you join us. And right now, we hope that you're letting everybody know. We hope that you're putting this out there. You're sharing it with your friends. You're saying, woohoo, the Experience is on. Caitlyn's coming. It's going to be great. Tag your friends. Let them know we're here, because I'm telling you, it's going to be a lot of fun. And want to let you know that if you haven't checked it out already, local.theexperience.video is where you can find all the information about Scott and I, about this show, about our other shows. So much great wisdom. And we'd love for you to be part of our YouTube community, which is growing because of my very popular pets. And you can go directly to the link I just gave you, or to theexperience.video, which will take you directly to our YouTube page. And it's having lots of fun there. So, Scott, what's going on this week?
And we were at the Texas Library Association in Dallas last week, 3 days. Great conference, met just some wonderful folks. So this week there's some follow-up that I need to do, which you need to build that into your schedule when you go to events. Make sure that those cards, those contacts, that contact information that you get, that you have time scheduled to actually follow up with those folks.
Yeah, I have found, Scott, that a lot of people are surprised when you follow up with them in like a personal way. Because what I always try to do is reach out individually, not just send out this mass, thank you, friend, for seeing me at the show and all this kind of stuff. And a lot of times people that you're really interested in getting together with, you say, hey, let's grab a cup of coffee. Let's go get lunch. I'd love to swing by your office and just say hi, whatever.
Well, and in your case, there's a high probability that you're going to send a selfie with you and that person.
That is usually the case. I've even stepped up my game on that, because lately I thought to myself, all these years I've tagged everybody on Facebook and done all this stuff, but I thought, not everybody sees that. And it's personal, but not as personal as, on top of that, what I do now is I text all the people in my picture and I send them the picture and I say, so great to see you today. What a blessing to have time to talk. whatever. And people love that. And they say, because then they get the picture on their phone on top of that. So yeah, it's been fun.
Well, and it's funny because we just had an associate from Dallas who was going to San Diego to social media marketing world. And one of the people that she was interested in meeting was Mari Smith. And it just happened that I had a selfie with Mari Smith and myself from when I was at social media marketing world. And this was back before COVID, right? BC. And so I got onto LinkedIn and made an introduction to Mari and to Lori up in Dallas. And I added my little picture, and it was just a great reminder because Mari Smith doesn't know me, right? I mean, we're connected. I've been involved in some of her things, but it was just a way to say, hey, I want you to meet this great person from Dallas. And oh, remember, we met together. So it's that there's a handy thing when you have a stockpile of those hashtag Russ selfies.
There you go. It is so good. In fact, when I was at a coffee shop in Portland with my family a couple of years ago, actually it was during COVID, and I walked up to grab a coffee, was standing in line, started talking with the gentleman. He ended up being the star of the show, oh brother, come on, Russ. It was filmed here in Portland.
Grim?
And what?
Grim?
Grimm. There you go. He was the star of Grimm. Anyway, so it was so fun. I tried that with him. I actually sent him a picture, but it was on Instagram because I didn't have his cell number. And unfortunately, probably somebody else views his Instagram for him. So it wasn't quite as meaningful, but it was a lot of fun because he and I had a selfie together.
Hey, I see we've got Leanna in there in the comments, Mike Asherbrainer, and I just want to give a public thank you to Mike, the big dog, the Hounds of Business leader, founder. He invited me to a group called Pantheon yesterday, and just an outstanding networking group, extremely well run, and I encourage people, reach out to myself or Mike and learn more about this group.
Yeah, no, for sure. Say the name of the group again.
Yeah, Pantheon.fm. And it's a big group. There's a lot going on, lots of opportunities, and lots of free things that you can get. So we're not talking about going out and writing a check and exploring something. Go out and learn about what kind of opportunities are there. But with that, Russ,
I think it's time. We need to get Caitlyn in the room and get this party started. All right. Here she is, Caitlyn Wells. Brrr, ching. Hey, Caitlyn.
Hey,
Hi.
Caitlyn.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing well.
We're so glad to have you here today. What a blessing. You and I had such a great conversation. I thought I have got to have this young lady on our show because first of all, she smiles all the time. And second of all, it's just going to be great information for everybody. So let's start from the beginning. Tell everybody, who is Caitlyn and what in the world are you up to?
Yeah, I'm the founder of Upwell Strategies. And so I work with small business owners to help them build out the tech that they need and the systems that they need to help support their business growth. And we focus a lot on making sure that their tech is built in a way to work well with their people so that the tech is supporting what their people and their team are doing and not being a place of friction for work.
So, Caitlyn, I'd love to get some examples of some of the success stories of these businesses that you've worked with, because technology can be overwhelming and can get in the way. So, tell us about some of this.
Yeah, definitely. So, one example would be we work with a lot of creative entrepreneurs, creative agencies, and things like that. And so, a lot of times when you talk about processes and systems and things like that, they're worried it will impede their creative flow. And so we focus a lot on picking the right tech and the right tools to support them in being more organized so that things don't fall through the cracks, but without them feeling like they're boxed in. So for example, one client that we worked with, they weren't super comfortable with more advanced tech. And they felt very at home just within Google Workspace, Google Docs. And so instead of trying to force them into a more sophisticated project management tool, we just found a way to better organize their files, have a better naming convention, and utilize that beautiful little checkbox feature in Google Docs for their tasks for each project and things like that. And that worked great for them. And she was so grateful because over other attempts to build out systems with other, watching a course and things like that, she had felt very pressured to use something like ClickUp or Asana or Monday or some of those tools. And none of them worked for her. And then it just became more of a headache than anything. And so finding a way to let the tech work well for her and her team made it where they then could operate more efficiently without it being stressful.
So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I'm hearing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're listening to what the customer really needs, what your client really needs, and what's going on in their life, what hasn't worked for them, and things going, instead of pigeonholing them into what you think is best, you're finding something that works really good for them, which I'm sure helps people right off the bat with their attitude, because they think this Caitlyn person is really listening to me, right?
Yeah, definitely. There are a lot of operations agencies out there that get very, very good at a select number of tools. And so everyone that comes to them is always going to get one of those things, kind of like how you might get like a HubSpot expert. And so if you want a CRM, you're getting HubSpot, whether that's best for you or not, because that's what that person is really good at. And they might build out something that works incredibly, but it might not work well for you. And so a lot of times we really just focus in on what is it that you need, what's your level of, I guess, like tech literacy, if you want to call it that, your comfort with tech, and then paying attention to also their team that they have and the type of growth they want, because it might just be you and maybe 2-3 team members right now, but if you're projecting and trying to work towards a team of 20, we have to make sure what we're setting up can work at that level as well, so that you're not rebuilding something in the middle of a growth period.
Yeah, and let me jump in there, Scott, before you go further and just do a follow-up to that. And that is, I love what you said, because if you're selling HubSpot or something in particular, you're going to tell them how great it is, and you're going to love this no matter what. And the whole time they're thinking, yeah, but I don't want that. I've already tried that. And you're pushing me and you're trying to make me be somebody else. And that's what I find, that people have solutions for somebody else they want you to take, right? Instead of what really works for you. How do you set them at comfort there and just say, listen, I'm all here for you. We're going to find a solution. How do you start that conversation?
I started with us talking about their goals and their vision and the challenges they've had. We don't jump straight into a conversation of the tech stack and their processes and all of that stuff. We start with, what is it that you're trying to build? Because we've also had some people come to us, and as they're sharing what it is that inspired them to start their business, the type of impact they're trying to make, and like the direction they're taking it, and then we look at what their current business state is, we're like, well, you deviated at some point. You're not in that direction anymore. And they're like, yeah, I know. It just got busy, and I kept like doing the next thing that I like short-sightedly could feel like I needed to do, and then I paused for a minute and I realized this isn't the type of business I wanted to build. And so then we talk about, okay, well, what does it look like to kind of course correct or like unbuild a little bit to get you in the direction you actually want it to go?
It's interesting. I was just thinking about a friend that was putting together a will, and had a bunch of different things, and actually was spending time working on the wording of what the will would look like before they went to the attorney. And as we're talking about this, I said, well, that's what the attorneys do. Why don't you just tell them what you want to have happen, right? With your stuff, where you want it to go, and let them worry about what the wording is. And that's what I see here, is that you're saying, okay, business owner, what do you want? What do you need? Now let's figure out how to get there. So speaking of how to get there, how did you, Caitlyn, get involved doing this?
I've always been a little bit more of a type A organized person. I was that little kid that wanted to help my mom create like a schedule and the packing list and all the things for every vacation. So I'd say it's been like a lifelong learning experience that led me into this direction. But I actually got my degree in digital marketing. And so my first kind of career direction was working with a marketing agency. But I'm very fortunate that the person I worked with recognized quickly that I did have a good knack for project management, operations, and stuff. And so after working there for a little while, he had me shift into the ops manager role within that agency. And I was able to then get a lot more hands-on experience working in a small business in the like operations side and not just the marketing client account side. And then when 2020 hit, I decided to depart from that agency to start my own business. And that first year was a learning experience because it was a blend of COVID and everyone going remote and holding up in their homes, which was both a blessing and challenging because everyone was a little worried about the uncertainty during COVID, but also a blessing because I was able to connect with people all around the world, really. I had clients across the US. I had some clients or some friends I met that were all the way over, in Europe or in Taiwan and places like that. And so it was really cool to almost right out the gate be able to have a global kind of presence in a sense. And then from there, I just started kind of diving deeper and deeper into the world of the different tech solutions out there for specifically small business owners, not the super expensive, like not the Salesforce type stuff that can get really pricey and is better for larger orgs, but really trying to find a way to set up tech and automations to support small businesses, because a lot of times small business owners think they're not far enough along to need that yet or for it to be helpful for them. And that's not true.
Yeah, first off, you're the kind of person that I need, the person with the systems and the detail, type A personality. It's very funny because I am the right-brained, crazy, creative type. Scott does all
heavy on the crazy.
There you go. And, when you want anything, any real wisdom or anything that it comes from the cerebral part of your anatomy, you go to Scott for that, or you go to Ever, who is my assistant, who does all the real nuts and bolts of what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because a while back, someone asked me, because it can be confusing to some people. They said to me, "You're really a type A personality, aren't you?" And I started laughing hysterically because I realized that over the years, I had learned to compensate for my shortcomings and become very organized and detailed on what I did so I wouldn't forget. It has nothing to do with being that way. It has to do so I don't fall on my butt and forget what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So when you're weeding through all of that, I just love the fact that you're really helping people get where they want to go with what works for them. And I think that this is one thing that a lot of people are afraid to reach out to coaches or clients or to consultants or people that help them with different things like technology, like you, because they think they're going to get shoved into a round circle, into a square hole, trying to figure out what they're trying to do. So you are the kind of person that puts them at ease, I can see already. But how do you help them realize that what they really would work for them and what they probably have already had in their mind is going to really be the thing they need? It's really going to help them down the road. Speak a little bit to that.
A lot of times it's the visual, showing them how it can work. So whether this is literally building out a little bit of a demo version of what it could be for them to get that further buy-in, showing them an example of something done for someone else, or really just explaining like, hey, this is how you feel right now. Once XYZ is in place, this is what that outcome will look like. This is the type of result you'll see, and really painting that picture of what it can look like. And then if they push back some, I can really listen to that response, maybe ask a deeper question like, okay, well, why are you worried about that? Or why, and then I can adapt what my recommendation is as well. It's really about having a really candid conversation and building that trust where they want to be transparent around what hasn't worked for them, what maybe their own fears are with having to follow a certain process and things like that. And I was talking to someone the other day, and we were talking about the concept of the importance of asking better questions and being okay digging deeper and being really intentional with what it is you're asking. It's almost like being that toddler that asks why, and then after every response you ask why again, because you just want to get all the way down to the root response.
Yeah.
So this may be a little controversial, but I'm going to ask on behalf of the audience. You have a painting behind you of a globe. Can you tell us about that? Is that your work? Is that your work?
No, it was purchased at a store.
Okay.
I don't even
right.
remember the store.
I
At
thought you were
our old
talking
house,
about
we had like a
working with.
small reading nook, and I needed a small painting to fit a space in
Okay.
that reading nook, and that was
All
purchased.
right. All right. I was thinking, you're talking about creatives. I thought maybe Caitlyn's got some hidden skills there.
Well, I actually used to do photography a lot, so I do have a creative side.
All right.
Hey,
There you
there
go. So
you
you
go.
understand from an experiential standpoint what it's like to work with the creatives.
Mhm.
You have that brain in yourself. What are some tips that you would love to share with folks that they could go out and actually implement this week in their business?
Yeah. My first, which is not as like fun, I think for most people, but is to do what I call a time audit. And you don't have to get detailed down to like every 5-minute increment, but pay attention like every 30 minutes, maybe. What is it that you're spending your time on? And at the end of the week, look at it. And if 80% of your work hours were meetings, maybe you need to reassess and see which meetings are actually necessary. Or if you found yourself task switching a lot, is there a way to, maybe group more of your creative work on certain days and your more administrative or strategic work on other days, so you're not having to like switch that direction of thought as often? Or if you find that, you're still knee deep in a lot of the client work, but you have a team of 5 under you, is there something you're not delegating out that someone on your team could do very well with? And so doing that time audit, I think, can provide a lot of great insights. And then, you don't want to just audit your time and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I spent 5 hours this week doing XYZ. But then you want to say like, okay, does this make sense for where I'm at in my business? Should I be doing this amount of work in each of these areas? What should I cut if I feel like I'm overwhelmed every week? Where could I reduce things to create space for the other things I need to do?
Yeah, and I'll just follow up quickly because Dave Ramsey, those people who follow Dave Ramsey, the great financial guru, just going through and doing an audit of your checkbook is a representation of what your values are. And this is the same process. You're saying, go through and do this with your calendar, and is where you're actually spending your time representative of your personal values, of your business goals. So I love that. Russ, keep going.
Well, I was just going to say that I love that a couple of things you talked about listening a while back, something that's very unnatural to those of us who like to talk. And being a communications major at Oregon State, it was interesting because I had just many, many, many speech classes and only one class on listening, where listening, as they always say, you have 2 ears, 1 mouth, that whole thing. But it is true. We should be listening to at least twice as much as we're speaking. And I've learned that that is the best way to show people you care. I love what John Maxwell says. I always say it, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. You show people you care by listening and repeating back to them what they're saying, showing that they are important and you're listening to what's going on. And I think that's so important as far as coming to the audit. You're listening to them. You're talking to them about taking a look at their time and how they're really spending it. Besides your money audit, which is so important, that time audit, I found so much that I was wasting so much of my valuable time from some good advice from mentors. And I think that is an awesome, awesome point that you made. Okay, so what I would like you to do in the last few minutes we have of the show is really kind of wrap up our discussion today. When people come to you, how can they, what should they come to you with? If there's questions or things that they could present that will help? And then also, how do they get in touch with you so that they can make that connection and you can help them out? And then give us your gold nugget of the day, the thing that's like the most important of our discussion today that you'd like to share.
Okay, yeah, that was a long list, so I might ask you at some point to remind me. I guess in summary, we talked a lot about the importance of finding the right tech that works for you and that you feel comfortable using, and then making sure you're building out your systems and your processes and your team in a way that feels good for you and the way that you want to work. You don't have to be forced into someone else's box just because they say, oh, such and such platform is amazing, this is the best one ever. It is for them, but it doesn't mean it is for you. And we talked a lot about the importance of listening and asking good questions and and going deep into those conversations around business owners' goals and their vision for what it is they're trying to do and the impact they want to make. A lot of times when clients come to me, or when we're talking through, potentially helping them with their operations, I tell them, you don't need to try to document anything or clean up anything before you come. Like, let me jump into the mess and help you clean it. It's kind of like when you clean your house before the housekeeper comes. You don't have to do that. Let us step into the mess. Let us untangle it and get it all in a way where you feel like your business is set up well to support you with your growth and with your day-to-day responsibilities. A lot of times when people come to us, the first thing we do make them do is that time audit. And then we also do a tech stack audit. They list out everything they're subscribed to, free or paid. And we go through and we say, hey, did you realize these 3 things actually can all do the same thing? Let's get rid of 2 of them. And we really cull down what we call like the tech subscription or the tech debt or the tech bill or whatever you want to call it. To really simplify the number of things that you're having to log in and out of every day.
Perfect.
Yeah.
I was going to say, so basically you're meeting them where they are. You're
Mm-hmm.
saying this is where you are. Let's work from the foundation you've already built, and let's clean it up and let's make it better. Right. That's so good. That's so good. So how do people get in touch with you?
You can connect with me on my website, upwellstrategies.com, or on LinkedIn, Caitlyn Wells on LinkedIn, or on Instagram, Caitlyn T. Wells.
Well, that is so great. We just happen to have a lot of that up below you, and it's ticking along the bottom of the screen. And so we are just blessed to have you here today. I can't tell you how much what you do is needed, Caitlyn, because people like me really need you a lot, really badly, because, this is, I think, a strategy that's important for everybody. And I'm sure that you would agree. Take your shortcomings, the things you're not good at, and find good people like Caitlyn that can help you in those areas, right?
Yeah, every creative, wild visionary needs I think the EOS system calls it an integrator, They need someone to partner with them.
Amen to that. Amen to that. All right. Well, listen, it's been such a blessing to have you here today. We're going to say goodbye for today because the show's wrapping up, but hang tight in the green room. We'll be right there. Okay.
Nice to see you, Caitlyn.
Nice to see you too.
Wow. Man, I tell you, she is just a gem. She is the kind of person that I need. And thank God for ever being there, giving me some detail.
And it's again, I like this audit and just going through and looking at what you're doing as an individual and as a business. And I'll just throw out there that for the independent planner, I did go in and program a GPT with the information from the book, and people can go through, if they go to independent-planner.com, scroll down to the bottom and click and go into the GPT. It'll actually help you create your 3-year vision in 6 areas, set goals. But really the final step is coming up with an ideal week. And so I like to batch up things on Mondays and Wednesdays, meetings and so forth, so that I have those big blocks of creative time, of time to work on client projects and so forth, uninterrupted. And so independent-planner.com will help implement some of these things that we learned from Caitlyn today.
Yeah, for sure. And, I have learned that from wisdom of people like Mr. D. Scott Smith and others, and that is to, batch my time and, take days. I usually have Mondays and Fridays, that most of the days, Mondays for sure, all of the day, I'm staying in and working on things, and I'm keeping things together instead of always moving myself around. You waste a lot of time with traveling and doing things if you're just running here or there.
Yeah.
And so it's very important to think that through, how you're actually approaching your day. So anyway, Scott, always full of wisdom. You're so awesome. Caitlyn was incredible today. And I encourage everybody, you've got to get in touch with Caitlyn. She is a gem. You definitely need to reach out to her. Her Instagram is scrolling along the bottom. All of her information is in the comments and the show notes. You can click on it. It's clickable. Go straight to her. You don't even have to remember it. Just go straight to her, which is great because people like me don't remember anyway. And don't forget, that this show is here. The Experience Live with Russ Scott every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, 9 a.m. Texas Standard Time. And before this, we have the Experience Backstage on Instagram only. Join us there. It's a lot of fun with some good video tips from our friend Shri on Instagram only at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And this show here converts to audio podcast, so you can listen on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon. If you don't have time to listen to the whole thing or watch the whole thing, we'd love for you to do that. And I'm just excited because we'll be back next week, right, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. And just tell people that you can go ahead and cancel those Hulu Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix subscriptions. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just binge it. We know we're now well over 200 episodes with the most remarkable people on the planet, like today, Caitlyn Wells, learning fabulous tips, things that you can implement right away, streamline your business. All right here on The Experience Live with Russ and Scott.
That's it. Go to local.theexperience.video for all the information on Scott and I and the shows, including the YouTube page, or go directly to the experience.video. That takes you directly to our YouTube page. Love for you to join if you want to have fun and see my animals. Check out the shorts. It'll make you smile. And until next week, have an amazing, amazing week and enjoy
the experience.
Woohoo!
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.